Welcome to the Diversity Connector podcast, where we explore the rich tapestry of human experiences. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we meet today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and together as we dive into conversations that bridge cultures, challenge stereotypes, and celebrate the unique perspectives each of us brings to the table. Each episode is a journey through stories and insights from a kaleidoscope of voices, each sharing their colorful narrative. Whether you're at home, on the go, or just anywhere in between, you're now part of a community that values understanding, inclusivity, and the beauty of diversity. So plug in your headphones, get comfortable, and let's connect through the power of our shared stories. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Diversity Connector podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diversity Connector. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young man. You know, I absolutely love my life and the way the universe connects me to some of the most amazing human beings on the planet. As you know, a few weeks ago, I was invited to speak at an event in Bali. And through that experience, I have connected to a tribe of people of African descent from all over the world living right here in Australasia. So welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Noble Dwarika. I'm an event production director and music artist, among many other things, and I'm currently based in Bali, Indonesia. So I come from an Afro-Jamaican and Indo-Trinidadian Caribbean background. I grew up in New York up until about the age of 8 or 9. Grew up also in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. From that time up until I went to college, I studied international studies, political science at the University of California, San Diego, and I minored in Chinese studies. I studied abroad many times, most notably in China, in Beijing, where I did learn Mandarin, and then again in Spain, in the University of Barcelona, as I'm fluent in both of those languages, Spanish and Mandarin Chinese. I've had a variety of different career paths in my 20s. My first big boy job, I worked as a stockbroker. I ended up working in logistics and operations, bringing in some of the largest container shipments from China, Chinese suppliers, all the way up until Amazon warehousing. So I have extensive background in logistics as well. And I also worked in management consulting on the business services side. And simultaneously also running a business, doing events, from dance classes, local events, conferences, etc. And most recently, I was living in New York in Bushwick for the last year and a half, 2 years. And I decided, why don't I go ahead and travel the world? And I needed to get to 30 countries before I hit the age of 30, which I am now. And I was at about maybe 22 or 23. So I was in Brazil, went to Jamaica after to visit my grandma. And then I decided to just keep heading east. So that took me from Spain to Italy to Greece, did a group trip that I hosted in Egypt. Then I went to India, went to Nepal, went to Dubai. Then I went to Thailand. By that time, I got tired, and I was supposed to do this 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat here in Bali. And I was exhausted, and I was actually going to go to Vietnam instead because I thought Bali was going to be too touristy and wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. But I decided to honor my commitment to do the Vipassana retreat because there's like this insane wait list. And I made it off the wait list. So I went to Bali. And the first 5 days, I stayed by the beach, relaxed. And I said, okay, there's something a little different here. But just everything started to align for me. I got my passport renewed. An additional 10 years. I got another contract opportunity remotely. And then from there, I did the Vipassana retreat. And I came out and I ended up in this beautiful jungle city called Ubud. And it's actually the meaning of Ubud comes from the word Ubad, which means healing, medicine here in Bali. And it just took me away. And now I am a full-fledged event production director in addition to doing my music, which I've always done throughout my entire life. And this brought me to creating the Innovate Black Summit. And that's how I met Gertrude. So it's been quite a journey, and I've had so many incredible international experiences. My brand is called Noble is Global for that reason, and my central mission is to bring people together. So that's just a little bit about me. I have a background, from the time I was very young. It's interesting that event production has found me in this way because when I was younger, I've always been putting events and shows on for folks. And then when eventually I got into high school, I was the head of prom committee. So I was planning proms for, 3 out of the 4 years that I was in high school. Then when I went on to college, I had experience creating conferences and engaging events, and also teaching myself how to do music production and so on and so forth. So now here in Bali, it's this beautiful, lush landscape. I say I live in paradise every single day. And I have the ability to meet really unique individuals, people that come from all different walks of life. But for some reason, we all picked this tiny island in the middle of Southeast Asia that's near the equator, that's further from anything we've ever known from home. And so I think that's why we ended up finding a tribe here. And so, Bali being the spiritual place that it is, in its own way communicated to me that I needed to lean more into this gift to bring people together, whether it be through music or dance or local events or classes, whatever I'm able to put my hands on. That is the unique spin, is imbibing my unique brand, my personality, and my desire to bring people together. So that creative expression makes me feel so fulfilled, and it's something that I've never quite experienced before working in corporate. And I get to meet incredible individuals like Gertrude, met some celebrities. I've met folks that are reinventing their life, moms, entrepreneurs, people that are figuring it out. It's incredible to meet such a cocktail of wonderful, uniquely diverse individuals here in Bali, and then to have the opportunity to create an event where they can all meet each other and link and learn from one another. And so that is primarily what I do here in Bali. I also sing as well. So from time to time, I do some shows. And most recently, I was in Singapore. So it's also great being in the Southeast Asia region to explore different opportunities to use my talent and my gift with music and singing. So that has been tremendous for me as well. And now with meeting Gertrude, it was really serendipitous because I believe that Ubud, specifically Bali, with being the spiritual launchpad that it is, it brings people to me. And I never know exactly how the interaction is going to go, but I feel the need to continuously show up. And so meeting Gertrude was the perfect synergy because, I don't know, I just met her and I felt like I understood her. I value her. I am so excited and enthralled to just be in her presence and to learn from her, and building a friendship through the most unlikely places, through finding a post on LinkedIn for an event that I curated and produced here in Bali, to now being on her incredible podcast. So I just want to say thank you so much, Gertrude, for having me. And I'm excited to answer your questions and dive deep to learn more about you and myself.
Oh, absolutely wonderful, Noble. As I said in the beginning, I love my life and how the universe just orchestrates to bring these magical people into my life. So let's dig a little bit deeper into who you are. Now, can you share a bit about your upbringing in New York and Atlanta, and how your Afro-Jamaican and Indo-Trinidadian heritage influenced your early life?
That's a great question. So I grew up in a very, multicultural household, with different flavors and foods. We're talking about jerk chicken and roti and shrimp and fish. And I love Caribbean food. That was very much a part of my upbringing. My grandparents, Jamaican. Most of my Trinidadian family, they live in Trinidad. So I grew up mainly with my Jamaican family. And, to be honest, I was just grown up to have just a sense of confidence and pride in our heritage, being from Jamaica. And I had a very early understanding of the diaspora because I went to an all-Black Christian private school with, folks from West Africa, from the Caribbean, African American. So it was such a cocktail, and I always saw myself as a part, as a thread in this beautiful tapestry of the African diaspora. And now, for me, inclusivity and having just a broader scope of what it means to be a Black person in this world, and being able to celebrate all of the things that make us unique in our individual cultures. For example, you being from Zimbabwe and me being from Jamaica, we might have some differences in terms of culture, but really we're all the same. We both put a bag over our hair when it gets wet outside, and we've just done our hair. We celebrate, we laugh, we dance, all of these things that make us rich and beautiful. It's something that we all share across the diaspora.
I absolutely love it. And you are such a cocktail of different nations. It's just fascinating to watch you in action and the intersectionality that is you. So, how did your diverse professional background in finance, supply chain logistics, management consulting lead you to become a global experience architect?
Oh, I love that. That's a wonderful question. I had a mentor a long time ago tell me, no, they were like, Noble, it's important for you to know what you don't like just as much as it is to know what you do like to do. And in my 20s, I was like, okay, let me just throw a bunch of things at the wall and just do what interests me. And what I learned from that, Gertrude, is I don't like being told what to do. So I find myself picking up as many skills as possible. And so being on the ground level of operations as a stockbroker, and then working in supply chain logistics and seeing how all of these pieces work together, I kind of feel like it was a hood MBA, almost like getting an MBA without getting an MBA.
Yes.
So grabbing these different skill sets only has built upon what I'm able to do. I have like a mind that works with details and understanding how to conceptualize the event and then executing it. And so all of these pieces, I draw on all of these experiences, working as a stockbroker to, with financing and, okay, well, what can we do with this pool of income at the moment? Maybe we can invest it and put it in an ETF while it grows. And then we can also do, supply chain logistics. How are the pieces moving? What pieces don't we control, and how we can integrate that in the approach for executing the event? All of these things I'm drawing on at the same time.
That is so crazy. Now, tell us a little bit about your family background. I had the pleasure of meeting your beautiful mom while I was there in Bali. How many kids in your family? What did your parents do? How did they influence who you are today?
Absolutely. So my parents were like, we have an incredible relationship. My mom and I, we actually have the same birthday. So we're very close. I'm also very close with my father. I have one younger brother who is a year and a half younger than I am. And he's also very creative. He has his own YouTube channel that's very successful where he teaches people how to edit. And so growing up, my parents, actually, they also had a diverse range of jobs. So it was never uncommon for me to see, my mom would do this. She worked primarily as an accountant. She did real estate. My dad was a maintenance man for many years. He was a car salesman. He did HVAC technician work. So my parents have always just, they went straight to the bag. Wherever the money was, they didn't mind doing it. It gave them the flexibility to do what it is that they wanted to do. And growing up in that environment allowed me to see that, one, I could never truly depend on maybe a corporate job like most people could. I never felt comfortable staying at one job for too long or feeling like I couldn't venture out by myself to try something new. And you know what I mean? I just had this confidence seeing them do that all throughout my life, that it just was completely normal.
Wow. What great role models to have and, learning how to live and navigate the world. So as a music artist, how does music influence the way you design and execute events?
You have the best questions, Gertrude. So now with music has always been a part of my life. And for me, it activates different emotions, whether it be excitement or joy. Those are the emotions that I like to draw on with music. So now for events, when it comes to promotion, I'm very specific about the kind of music that I use in my promotional materials. So I can either drum up excitement or to help people understand what kind of emotion they hope to feel when they come to an event that I produce. And now, as far as music at the event, at the Innovate Black Summit, we actually had a curated playlist by one of our co-organizers, Marcus, and I thought that was a tremendous idea. So I find that music is powerful when it comes to marketing and branding an event. And really, at the core of what it is that I do in terms of creating experiences for people, it's about what do you want to feel when you're at the event. And if you can sync that up and make sure that the thread that's running through your event lines up and aligns very clearly with how you want people to feel, I think you have a slam dunk.
Well, you guys certainly gave us a feeling at this last event. I have never felt so connected to a group of strangers instantly. The atmosphere was beautiful. The location was perfect. It was a real experience for me. Now, in terms of event design philosophy, what key principles guide you when creating international conferences and retreats, particularly in locations like Bali?
That's a great question. So I draw on my customer success experience. And basically, in a nutshell, there are a bunch of touch points that you want to hit on, and to think of it more like a journey. And the journey begins far before the event is produced and continues on after the event is completed. And so the initial part is, okay, what kind of audience do you want to attract? How do you want them to feel in the initial stages? For example, when you're hosting a wedding, you have to make sure you send out the invitations, the font, all of those little details start to set the expectation for the attendee. And then we move into the next phase, which is the promotional stage. How much time do you have in your horizon to educate people as much as possible in the event and to drum up as much FOMO, fear of missing out, as you possibly can for this event? And it goes into the details from selecting the venue, catering, creating an itinerary that flows very, very well. I know we've all been to an event where you're like, okay, we're here, now what do we do? That's the worst feeling to feel when you're at a curated event. You want people to have a very specific flow and feel organized. And then lastly, when you're executing the event, it's important to capture all of the data that you possibly can at your event so that you learn more about what it is that people enjoyed and find areas of improvement. So there's a whole process when it comes to designing these different touch points at the experiential level. But it takes a lot of time to really conceptualize, empathize with your guests, and understand them, even down to how much are they willing to pay, how much time are they willing to spend, what are they trying to get from this? And if you can make those deliverables clear from beginning all the way after the journey of the executing the event, I think it has so much potential to create community and togetherness, like you experienced at the Innovate Black Summit.
Now, can you discuss how your multicultural background informs your approach to creating events that cater for an international audience?
Absolutely. So at the core of who I am, being Black, being Indian, being proud to be a part of the African diaspora, I value inclusivity. And so I would say that my events are Black centered, meaning because I am Black, I center it around my experience, and I, pick music and I pick venues or cultures that speak to me because of who I am. And that just happens intrinsically. But I value bringing in different cultures and working with community partners. For example, here in Bali, the space that we selected was intentional because we wanted to support a business that was owned by someone who is in fact Balinese. We're here in their country, and I think it's so important to respect their traditions and honor their culture and also empower them economically. And so that's part of the intention of, having a multicultural approach in a place like Bali, to work with locals, to appreciate and honor their land and their labor, and see it as a source of energy for the kind of work that we want to do going forward, to always do partnerships with locals. And then also to invite allies as well to help contribute and expand the knowledge that's in our community. And so for me, that's the best approach is always an inclusive one where we can learn and find a way to be symbiotic and intentional with the way that we're interacting with one another.
So what are some of the most significant challenges that you faced while organizing global events, and how have you overcome them?
I would say most tangibly the time zone differences. Because it's an international event, you are working against the clock with people that are living 12 hours or 12 hours behind, 4 hours ahead, trying to coordinate as much as possible with time. It is something that I've gotten much better at managing, different schedules, but it is a challenge. Our team was based in South Africa at the time. Marcus was there. Isaac was between Singapore and Kenya, and myself, I was in Bali. So navigating that challenge was definitely significant, but we pulled through. And I would also say adjusting folks' expectations. So we do have some folks that have never been to Bali before. And so you have to understanding the logistics of traveling to a new country, a new destination, a new continent for some people can be very daunting, and creating enough resources to assist those people that are arriving for the first time, adjusting their expectations. It's not going to be like the West, with all of your creature comforts, but there's a magic and there's a sauce that you want to be a part of while you're here, and to just encourage people to open up their perspectives. So I would say those two are the most challenging with navigating, the creation of global experiences.
Now, could you share an example in terms of how you aim for making your events a transformative experience? Give us an example of an event that had a profound impact on its participants.
Oh, wow. So back in college, I've learned that conferences, for example, we have this sort of static format. You kind of, when you think about a conference, you think about like a hotel conference room and that ugly carpet that they have, and you meet a couple of folks, you might give a business card. There's a format that we've been trained to expect from these events. So I know how I don't want to feel. I know what I don't want to see. And I try to put my own spin on it. So one of the things that people have to remember about a conference is they want to meet people. That's the whole purpose of a conference. It's like, I have come from wherever I've come, my corner of the world, to come to this place to meet someone that might have the answer to what it is that I'm looking for. So as an event organizer, It is my thought, we have to facilitate that as much as possible. How can we break people into groups? How can we bring their essence out? How do we eliminate the veil of shyness? How do we, the veil of discomfort and I don't know this person? How can we cultivate that? And so during my conferences back during my college days, I got to see examples of how to foster, icebreakers to, something even more sincere as, having breakout groups and introducing yourself and asking meaningful questions, because we don't really care about what it is that people do. We care about who they are, and then we care about what they do. So if we can allow people to introduce who they are authentically and to show up in the space as they are, know that they're safe, there's no pretentious air about what it is that we're doing. Introduce yourself. Be yourself, and then the people that you need will gravitate to you. And they might also happen to have what it is that you need to know.
That is awesome. So what strategies do you ensure that your events are not engaging, but also fostering meaningful connections amongst the attendees?
I personally love to ask participants, questions. So that they engage with each other. So one technique that I do, and this is something I do in all of my event spaces, I ask them to find a stranger and give them a genuine compliment. And I see the whole room start buzzing and people don't want to start talking. It's like, oh my gosh, I love your hair. That person was self-conscious about their hair, but now they got a compliment. And, it just opens up the space. So that's one little technique that I have, is I love to ask people to give someone a genuine compliment. And from there, I just see the room light up and the magic starts to happen. That's one little trick I have.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, well, I definitely experienced that. So how do you see the role of technology evolving in event planning and management, especially in the context of increasingly digital and virtual events?
AI was my best friend, and it has been my best friend when it comes to planning, local events, dance classes, co-working events, and most recently the summit. So it's a wonderful way. If you're not using AI, and we've had this conversation, if you're not using AI, you're going to get left behind. And it's something as simple as, okay, I have uploaded my spreadsheet. I have ChatGPT 4. I pay for that premium, and it's totally worth it. Organize the spreadsheet. This person is available on XYZ day. This person is available at this time. Organize the schedule and give me a markdown table of what that looks like. And then, of course, I have to go in and revise it over and over and over again. But ChatGPT is like having an assistant that's able to think through the difficult problems that maybe you don't have the bandwidth for. So AI is absolutely essential if you're doing anything virtual, coordinating events. It's just a quick brain that you have access to. And also, it helps to maintain brand consistency. Whenever, my brand is inclusivity XYZ, draft an email or draft a template or draft a thank you letter that reflects these values, and you continue to converse with ChatGPT so it understands your brand flow and it has all of this data to work off of, and it just builds on itself. So that's how I definitely think it's essential, and I'm definitely already using AI.
Yeah, AI is a powerful, powerful tool that we have at our fingertips right now. And you're right, unless you're using it, you're going to get left behind, and it's not going anywhere. It really gives you an edge.
Not at all.
So what advice would you give to someone who wants to enter the field of event planning and create culturally rich and engaging experiences?
Event production, a lot of people, at the core of what it is they want is to experience togetherness and community. So I would say first, to make sure that a person is aligned with the central mission of what it is that they want people to feel at their event. Because sometimes it's not always profitable when you're first starting out. It has become that way, but you have to be doing it for the right reason. So I say align your intentions behind why it is that you want to do the event, and let that be your North Star, your compass throughout the event. And always be of service to other people. Understand that when you're doing an event, to understand your role very, very clearly, and realize that if you're hosting the event, it's really, you're saying, I am of service to every single person in this event in every capacity. I would also recommend that they have fun. Have fun. Remember why you're doing it. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of the times there's hiccups, there's things that are out of your control, and you just have to let it be that way. And things always end up working out for the best. And I would say preparation is key. Cross your T's, dot your I's, do it over and over and over again. And the more events that you have under your belt, it just becomes like clockwork. You're like, okay, well, this is the process for this. This is what I haven't thought about. And get help where you need it. But those are my top pieces of advice, I would say, for anyone that's getting into event production. Just remember why you're doing it and keep that intention as focused as possible, and you will experience success.
Now, Noble is a global enterprise. Tell us any upcoming events, things that we should be aware of so we can track you and participate in all of your activities.
Absolutely. So I have been, I'm doing a partnership with Karma House Dance and Creative Studio here in Ubud. So every Thursday, there's an Afro-Fusion dance class that I host, and it's building an Afro-Fusion community here because most people have to commute all the way down to Canggu. I have weekly co-working events, and we're going to be having a very, very special event coming soon with a filmmaker that you might know very well, Gertrude. He's going to be doing a workshop, an educational workshop to help bring people's content to the next level in terms of shorts and reels. And I'm also going to be doing a speed dating event. That is what I'm really, really excited about. I'm bringing people together for love or for friendship. So the speed dating event is going to be coming up hopefully by the end of May.
Very, very exciting times are ahead of us. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing with our community who you are and what you're bringing to the table in Southeast Asia. I'm looking forward to further collaborations with you and your team. When is going to be the next summit? Innovate
That's a
Black. We
big
need to
question.
very soon.
You know, we initially anticipated that this would be a yearly event, but at the moment, I'm seeing that it might actually have to be biannual, or we might have to make it quarterly because the interest is absolutely there. So we will keep you updated with what the team comes up with, because we would love to have
That
you back in
sounds
Bali,
good.
Gertrude.
Any excuse to go back to Bali and any excuse to reconnect with your tribe is definite. Thank you so much, Noble.
Thank you so much for having me, Gertrude.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Diversity Connector is a platform that brings you diverse voices, diverse stories from people from all over the world to uplift, inspire, and energize you and really celebrate our diversity. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again, Noble.
Thank you, Gertrude.
And that's a wrap, everybody, on today's episode of the Diversity Connector podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our vibrant and global conversation. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a tapestry of diverse perspectives. Remember, every story you've heard today is a thread in the larger fabric of our shared humanity. So, as you step back into your world, carry these stories with you and let them inspire you to embrace and celebrate the rich diversity around us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these inspiring stories with more listeners. Do follow us on social media by looking for the Diversity Connector podcast for more updates. Until then, keep connecting, keep listening, and keep celebrating the beauty of diversity. This is the Diversity Connector podcast signing off. Stay curious, stay open, and definitely stay connected.